Let us start, though, Kevin, with our second segment, which normally is going to be our kind of hot take on what is going on in the racing world at the moment. But for our first show, we thought that we would just go deep on racing in general and focus on three championships that we love: NASCAR, Formula One, and INDYCAR. We live in a world where everyone wants to criticize everything. Everyone knows what's wrong and what needs to be fixed. And I'm not denying there's room for improvement in the world of motorsports. But let me tell you what I'm seeing. I just went to my first Daytona 500. And I mean, you saw. It was electric. I had the best time. But the thing about NASCAR that I think I'm most impressed with is they seem to have remembered who they are, right? Their marketing video earlier this season, it was a giant punch in the face to the Formula One comparisons and reminded fans, I think, of their uniquely American roots. They still got work to do, obviously, to reclaim levels of popularity from back when you raced. But got to tell you, I'm extremely excited about drivers, in particular like SVG, who I will probably glaze every week on this show, Connor Zilic, and all this excitement around the 2311 team. Then I look over at Formula One, and everyone wants to call it an overnight success, but I know from firsthand experience, yes, it was anything but. It took a while. They've methodically marketed this series into the global powerhouse that it is today. And drivers like Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton, they're bona fide global superstars. They released the highest grossing racing film of all time last summer. Drive to Survive, one of the most watched reality shows of all time, going now into its, 8th season. But that said, it has major challenges ahead in America where they were seeing sizable growth. But moving behind the Apple paywall this season, it is a bold move. Will they continue to bring in the new fans they're hoping for? Which then brings us along neatly to INDYCAR. In its first year with Fox, it had its most watched Indy 500 in 17 years. This offseason, the series added new drivers from new nations and a name in Mick Schumacher that resonates internationally. His father, of course, being one of the most recognized and celebrated in motor racing history, allowing it to restructure and add more international broadcast partners. In addition, they're returning to Phoenix and adding new races in Arlington, Markham, and the Freedom 250 in DC. In my opinion, competition has never been higher in the world of motorsports, and we have huge tailwinds behind us. It's one of the reasons I'm most excited that we're launching this show to cover it all. So those three aspects there of racing. Should we start with NASCAR, which appears, mate, to be in rude health?
Well, when you talk about recognizing who you are, and I think motorsports in general has gone away from horsepower. They've gone to this trying to make it more fair for everybody. Motorsports has always been about who could build the most badass car and the things that they can do on the racetrack. It's been loud, it's been in your face. And I think from a NASCAR standpoint, when you look at all the things that we've tried to do with playoffs. Well, we don't have playoffs in motorsports. That's for football, and that's for basketball and baseball and all those things. Just accept who we are. And I think NASCAR has really wrapped its arms around their Hell Yeah campaign and everything that they have going on with their marketing side. But just be who we are. That's what got us to the point of NASCAR being the most popular sport on the racing side in America. And I think as we continue to move forward and do that, people want to watch us who want to watch us. There's no reason to try to go out and make yourself something else for a small group of people that aren't going to be hardcore fans. We have a great fan base, and I love the fact that we've got back to trying to be who we are.
They consulted you on that, did they not?
Well, look, we've been through a lot of changes.
Yeah.
With the lawsuit, Steve Phelps going away, Steve O'Donnell coming back into, being at the top of the NASCAR executive team. So, Steve's been around for a long time. Obviously, I have an opinion. Dale Jr. has an opinion. There's a lot of us that have opinions on what we do. And I think Mark Martin's big push to be traditional point system. We're back to the chase, and that traditional NASCAR style of racing is what our fans want to see, and they want it to be pure. I think we got a little too far away from the pure aspect of what NASCAR racing is, and I think we're back on a great road to get that corrected.
Are we already starting to see a shift in driver mindset, like after two races, when you look at the fact you've got 23-11 in the top two spots in the championship, the fact that stage points are key. Every point is key because it's about a championship table, not just taking that overall win.
I think you have to shift it. You look at Kyle Larson. You know, we talk about Kyle Larson being fast. His mistake this weekend is a big dent in his points. And Tyler Reddick winning the first 2 races, you see the magnitude of winning a race and being there for every stage. But the way that our season has started right now with 2 super speedways basically in the first 2 weeks of the points-paying season puts a lot of guys in a bad position. You look at the point standings and you better start counting points because if you're one of those guys that doesn't have the capabilities to go out and win races like Tyler Reddick has done or Kyle Larson is going to do, it's going to be a long road back to the top of that points pile. And if you're outside of that first 5 or 6 when the chase starts, you're not winning the championship. It's not possible. You
got great names, great personalities, really marketable assets as drivers in the championship. Not least young Connor Zilic, who arrives on a wave of publicity, mega season last year. He's so highly rated, around the motorsport world, whether it's Cup, whether it's open wheel, everyone looks to Connor as being this generational talent. Like, how good is he, and how good a season do you think he could have?
Well, to put it in perspective for our viewers that are outside of the NASCAR world, he's the miss that F1 had. He would have been as competitive as any American could have possibly ever been. Went through the karting system, had the capabilities and the knowledge and the speed and the smarts to be able to put it together, and he can adapt to anything that he drives. Thank God they missed, keeping him overseas. But I mean, I
still want to bring him to INDYCAR. I still want him to do a 500.
Well, I'd love to see him, not only at the Indy 500, but it'd be great to see one of these guys jump out there and do both races in one weekend when we're together.
Oh, yeah.
I think that would be so intriguing to have somebody run both races at Phoenix. And I like the fact that Zilic, he has the right sponsor with Red Bull. It's great for a platform like that from a marketing side. But I think that while he's young, let him do the IndyCar stuff and do the things that it takes because he's still learning. He's one of the guys that's at the bottom of the pile in the point system already, and a lot to learn as he goes down the path here through the season.
Let's move to IndyCar quickly. Preseason testing is done. I'm hugely excited for the season. Obviously, Alex Palou, 4-time champion now, going for his 5th. Only one driver in history has ever won 4 on the bounce. He could do that again this year. It's going to be a massive challenge for his rivals to get on his level.
Can anybody beat him?
Yeah, of course. And of course.
But I mean, realistically, are there expectations to beat him?
So here's the thing. I remember last year talking to the drivers before the season started, and they were all to a man like, yeah, he's beatable. And then you ask that same question this year, and they're a lot more measured in their responses because they see the level that he's at, and they know that target on his back isn't static. It will have increased over the winter. He will have moved himself to another level. So if you're aiming for where Palou was last year, you're going to miss. You got to aim higher. He's just phenomenal. It's his feel, it's his intelligence, his race brain. Everything about him is on such a high level. But is he beatable? Absolutely. Anyone in racing is beatable.
Who is it? Who's the top contender to beat Palou?
So I'm really excited to see what Lundgaard can do this year. First year last year with McLaren, and now he's got his feet under the table. He really needs to sort of step on. And I think he will. And McLaren, are looking to do in IndyCar what they did in Formula One, which is to have those incremental gains and year on year improve to the point where they can go out and win the championship, as they proved they could last year with Lando Norris, having won back-to-back team titles in Formula One as well. I think Will Power on a revenge tour at Andretti is going to be great to see. Scott McLaughlin is fired up at Penske. He's really taken on that team leadership
I like the Malukas
role.
kid.
I love Malukas as well, but let's not forget he's never even won an IndyCar race.
Right.
So putting the weight of, is he going to win the title in his first season with Penske? Like, that's the expectation, obviously, because you're racing for Penske.
Absolutely.
But that's a massive challenge, like absolutely huge.
So when you shift from IndyCar to F1, I like to call it a soap opera.
Yeah,
because it is, and when they kind of set themselves up for that when you do the Netflix stuff and everything. That's how it's presented, right?
Yeah.
That's the marketing trick that they've used, and it's obviously very popular around the world. Not as much here in the U.S. It's obviously on the right path, but where do you see this all falling when we drop the green flag in Australia?
It's the biggest technical regulation change that Formula One has had possibly in its history. Because it's not just an aerodynamic change for the cars, it's a completely different methodology of power delivery. It's now 50% battery, 50% internal combustion engine. And what that means is the drivers are having to completely relearn having to drive a car. Are they having to lift on the straight? Yeah, they are. They're having to brake way earlier in order to regen the power to give them the electric boost that they need in that car. So that was fascinating, seeing over the test in F1 how much that changed from test 1 to test 2. Seeing how some cars are, like the Mercedes, for example, like the factory Mercedes, wicked fast out of the corners, but braking way earlier than anybody else going into a corner. So how much of a disparity is that going to create in racing condition? The Ferrari, that car could qualify last, and I swear it would still be P1 by turn 1 because their launches are unreal. Great news if you're a fan of Cadillac, by the way, because Cadillac are running Ferrari engines in their first years in Formula One. And for the Haas F1 team as well, America's other Formula One team, they're running Ferrari engines. So that could be really, really great for them. But
tell me about the wing.
No one knows.
What about the wing? The wing is so intriguing.
This is fascinating. So second test, Ferrari turns up, right? Day one, they've got this extra winglet on the rear crash structure, which is exhaust blown. Very, very smart. It's well within the regulations, but it's going to be almost impossible to
look at that.
So this is a secondary thing. The little winglet behind the exhaust is one thing, right? It gives them a little bit of extra downforce through the corners. And everyone's like, that's great, but it'll give them drag on the straights. Then day 2, they turn up with this wing. So under the regulations this year, DRS, the drag reduction system, has been eliminated, and you now have what's termed straight mode. So the front wing and the rear wing on most cars will open in order to reduce drag on the straights. What Ferrari have done is not just open the wing, they're flipping it. So that was it, the first test, they just opened it. The second test, it flips 180.
Wow.
So what that does, you're not just reducing drag, you're creating lift. But that secondary wing by the exhaust is then creating a little bit of downforce just to balance it out. Because you don't want to lift the rear tires off the ground, right? It's so smart. It's very, very difficult to replicate now for all of the other teams. And if Ferrari have found something, that could be the silver bullet. And listen, with a new set of regulations, one team's going to find something.
Right. So Lewis Hamilton back to victory lane?
I think everyone is hoping for that. I think Lewis is hoping for that. And also the way these cars drive. Right? Much looser at the rear, a little bit more snappy. We've seen cars four-wheel drifting around testing. That's a car that Lewis Hamilton loves.
So let me ask you this. Who wins first, Lewis Hamilton or Kyle Busch?
Well, I mean, with what
They're both on about the same losing streak.
I mean, with what we've seen out of Ferrari in testing, Lewis Hamilton, but it's testing, right? You don't know. Mercedes could turn up with an absolute box office engine.
Yeah.
You just don't. And you said it earlier, until we get to Australia, there's no telling.
So when we go to the first race for F1, do they let it all go at Mercedes? I mean, do you think they put everything they have out there, or are they still playing the politics of what might happen? And there's obviously a regulations meeting that's going to happen about the engines before we even get there, correct?
So basically there's a compression ratio which all teams have to abide by, and it seemed that Mercedes found a loophole that the compression ratio that you have cold could be increased when the engine's hot. So they're legal when it's static and potentially outside of it. But the original test wasn't supposed to be done when it was at high temperatures. There is a vote coming on whether to change that test. But with all the teams having been rather upset at what Mercedes are doing, there's now no guarantee they're actually going to vote for it.
Right.
Even if they do, it won't come in until halfway through the season.
Year.
So Mercedes and Mercedes-powered teams, they're fine till at least August. And who knows if the vote is even...
So do they unleash it at the first race?
Yeah,
all of it.
You unleash what you got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting.
It's going to be immense.
Yes.
There is, of course, there's controversy already. Max Verstappen saying that he doesn't like these cars. Fernando Alonso saying that the team chef could drive these cars because you're having to drive them so much slower through the corners.
Well, his doesn't make very many laps, so I'd say that too.
Fernando's, I think he ran team ran 6 laps on the last day.
He's spending a lot of time with the chef, so.
Mate, the Honda engine, and last time we had a big regulation change like this, Honda got it completely wrong. So big fear. I think big fear for Aston Martin, for Adrian Newey, for that whole team, for Fernando as well, because he's not getting any younger.
No.
This was supposed to be the year where they made that step forward. But even Flavio Briatore, coming out this week and saying that Here we go. Fans only understand 20%. We have to explain what is really happening. For the driver, it has become a completely different game. That's what Flavio said in the week. Look, if the drivers are winning, they'll say they love the car. If they're not, they'll say they hate the car. Does it need a different style of driving? Yeah, it absolutely does. There's a lot of management. And as a driver, look, you're a racer. When you've got to be flicking buttons and switches and remembering what to push here, there, braking earlier than you'd like to on a straight, like, does that take the joy out of racing, or do you actually like the challenge of having to think through the way in which you drive? Would you rather be driving by instinct or by methodology?
And a lot of, from Fernando's standpoint, I mean, why would you want to change everything that you've been doing? And for a lot of these young guys, it's just something different, and they're going to learn it a lot faster. When I got to the end of my career, you learned things a lot slower, and you had to spend a lot more time doing them. And not to mention, you have other things going on in your life. As life evolves and you get older, you don't have as much time to spend to learn something new. So that's the cycle of racing. The rules change. I'm all for the rules changing because I think it keeps the competition fresh and fair, and creates that creativity for the teams to outthink the guy beside you. That's the part I loved in the garage. When I looked over and I knew that we beat the guys next to us because we did a better job of creating something that was better than theirs. So I'm intrigued.
But can you teach an old dog new tricks?
It's been really tough. We've seen that with our Gen 7 car that we now race on the Cup side, and you look at somebody like Kyle Busch. He has struggled with it. You know, for a driving style that has been created with the trucks and the O'Reilly Series cars and every Cup cars, you could drive them over the edge and save them. You're not saving these Cup cars. So you know, I don't know that you can teach an old dog new tricks if he doesn't want to learn. You can teach an old dog new tricks if he has enough time in there and the capacity to spend to learn something. But it is a difficult road in order to retrain yourself what your old habits are.
And even not the oldest dogs as well. You know, Max Verstappen is saying he'll walk away from Formula One if these cars don't suit him. If he doesn't enjoy the driving, he's going to step away from the sport.
If you're not enjoying it, there's no way you can motivate yourself. But F1 is going to be an interesting start to the season to see where we are.